Got some very special guests on the line. Joining us right now to talk a little bit about the gas tax and Kay Ivey's inauguration speech is Sonny Brasfield. He's the executive director of the Association of County Commissions of Alabama. Sonny, thanks for joining the Jeff Poor Show.
Thanks, Jeff. Hope you're having a great afternoon.
Having a fantastic afternoon. So kind of where we're at now with the gas tax. We talked a little bit last month. You and I interviewed you at your at one of your conferences, and you seem to think we're kind of heading in the right direction. But you got to feel pretty good about the what Kay Ivey said, the Governor Kay Ivey in her inauguration address, and kind of the direction we're heading there.
Well, certainly, of course, Governor Ivey was very supportive of our efforts in 2017, which really occurred right as she took office. You remember the events that led to that, and so certainly her remarks on Monday has kind of set the stage for what we hope will be a successful session for sure.
Yeah, I think the big question is kind of where we are with the details. They haven't been forthcoming, and I think that's really going to be where the fight is. But from your perspective, are you hearing anything, or do you have anything that's kind of, I think, where they're trying to maybe the best way for this to happen, and it's actually going to happen with the least path of least resistance?
Well, I think that what's going on at this point is I think the proper approach, and that is that the leadership in the legislature and the leadership in the executive branch are working out details and trying to have a program that the three of them, the speaker, the pro tem, and the governor, can all be on the same page. And certainly, from a public standpoint, it seems like the legislative session is right upon us. But in terms of being able to get a program together, there's still time left. And when that happens, I think when the three of them get on a page together, then other folks like myself who our organization will be involved in the effort. But certainly, I think a better approach than maybe what we've used in past years has been to look toward those three leaders and try to get them in a place where they're all pulling on one sheet of music, and then the rest of us can get on board at that point. So I think that's where we are right now.
And I obviously we're talking to a conservative audience, and people don't want to see taxes raised. I feel like this was kind of settled in this last election, and the argument needs to shift toward more about what that looks like, what you're going to get for the more money you pay for a gallon of gas. That we need to be thinking about it in those terms, that we need these roads and bridges fixed, and we need to start looking at new roads or whatever the people in charge think are the infrastructure needs that are most needed to be addressed. That's kind of where we need to go with this, I think. And I kind of wonder, what do you know when you talk to people, and I know y'all are making a big push about this, is that sort of the message as well?
Well, I think that what we heard in 2017, and we've tried to be very responsive to that, and I think it's one of the reasons why there were a number of people who, during this election, in the House and the Senate candidates, who were not afraid to say they were in favor of infrastructure improvements, is that we've said this money has got to be more transparent, and this new money has got to be more accountable. And from our association, what we're promoting is, that the county portion of this money, and I think you'll see it handled both with the state portion and the city portion as well, needs to be accounted for separately from all other gas tax funds.
Right.
We need to ensure that money doesn't go to salaries, it doesn't go to equipment. The money goes directly on the roads in asphalt and concrete, and that the response from the public has been much more positive when they know that we're not just trying to do the same old thing with this new money, that we recognize that if we're going to ask for additional revenue, then we owe it to the voters, to the people who are going to be taking the money out of their wallets, to ensure them that the money's going to be put in a place where they can benefit from it. And so I think that has honestly changed the narrative on this issue.
Now, the one thing that's been mentioned to me about this, kind of behind the scenes, is I know municipalities have some power to do some stuff with their gas taxes, but counties don't. Is there a way you think that maybe counties should have the same power, and that way that you have the ability to keep some of the money raised in each of these individual 67 counties in those counties instead of getting spread around? Because I think a lot of people are fearful of that they're going to pay a gas tax more and it's just going to go to a bridge somewhere that's 300 miles away.
Well, I think your audience sits in a place where what I'm about to say I think is as applicable as anywhere in the state of Alabama. We're not really in favor of building, barriers between each county and saying to Limestone County, you raise your own money and you spend it in Limestone, and to say to Madison, you raise your own money and spend it there.
Right.
Because as you see very, very well, perhaps even better than anybody else in the state, that imaginary line between Limestone and Madison really isn't even there anymore. It's really not. And to think about saying, let's find a way to just raise money in our own county and keep all of it in our own county, I think would be counterproductive. Now, do we have to recognize that where more of the money is raised, we need to try to put together a way to recognize a return of a substantial part of that money in some way or another? I think that issue's on the table. I think people are embracing that idea, and how we solve that question, I think, is still to be heard. But from a county standpoint, I don't think the idea of substituting some kind of comprehensive plan for just giving counties the authority to raise gasoline tax is a good solution. And, one of the issues with cities is that, there are a number of cities in the state that have used the gasoline tax to fund other activities, not road and bridge activities. And honestly, I think in some ways that's hurt our argument in trying to advance new money for infrastructure. And that's why we've taken this posture that this money's got to go all on roads and bridges, and not say to the taxpayers, give us some additional money, but we'll use it however we see fit. That I think that's got to stop.
Yeah, and I've heard that one of your aforementioned points was that there's an idea kind of out there that if you buy gas in Evergreen, then it stays in Conecuh County, or if you buy it, at least a percentage of it stays there, and that prevents it from getting spread to the other places. And that seems to be something that might resonate more with the public, perhaps. Well,
I think there are a lot of different things being talked about it, and in some regard, we already do that. The state gasoline tax, the portion that goes to local governments, most of your listeners probably don't know this. 55% of the local government portion is divided based on population. So 45% of the money is split equally, so that the smaller counties do get some minimum amount of money for their roads and bridges. But the majority of the money is already divided based on population.
Right. Well, when you talk about that, I guess there's some pushback to the tax, but let me ask you like this.
Okay.
The big projects we always talk about, the 565s, the 65s, and the I-10 Bay Bridge, the big projects, but those are the ones that get the biggest part of all the press. But when you're looking at this, do you somehow we need to sell this in a way that this is not just those big projects. These are actually your farm to market roads. These are in the smaller counties, and that doesn't need to be neglected, because sometimes in politics we look where the votes are, and the votes are all in Birmingham, they're all in Mobile or Montgomery. They're not in the smaller places. But it sounds to me, just talking to some of your members at your conference last month, the idea is to get more of an emphasis put on counties actually getting this and getting the ability to improve roads that serve the whole state.
Well, I think what you're going to see is a comprehensive program that's going to try to touch all of those bases. Money for ALDOT, that can be used to pull down additional federal money if that becomes available from President Trump's infrastructure effort. Money for ALDOT to deal with interstates as well as dealing with 2-lane and 4-lane state highways, and then money for cities and counties to deal with major county projects like those that you would have in Madison County, as well as what you would consider more rural county projects down in the Black Belt, where without bridge improvements, our forestry and agricultural community and economic engine is going to be hampered. So it'll be a comprehensive project. One of the interesting things is if you look at ALDOT's money over the last 3 years, 65% of all the money expended by ALDOT on projects, federal and state money, has been spent in urbanized areas. So if you look at the state portion of the current gas tax, which is the lion's share of it, it's already going to urbanized areas in the state. So we're already in Alabama doing a pretty good job of looking at all of our transportation needs in a comprehensive way. What we haven't done is keep up with the rising cost of resurfacing roads. I came to work with the counties in 1988, and at that time, the average cost of resurfacing a mile of county road was in the $50,000 range.
Right.
We've just finished the A-Trip program where the average cost is going to be about $140,000 a mile. So, the cost of road building and road repairs and maintenance has skyrocketed, and that's out of the control of county commissioners for sure.
Got just a few moments left here with Sonny Brasfield of the Association of County Commissioners of Alabama. Sonny, let me ask you this. Are you satisfied with, and you hear this kind of off the, when we were talking to a lot of these county commissioners, that they're really worried about the bureaucracy of ALDOT and their project kind of getting buried underneath, just the bureaucratic process. How do you feel about that? How do you feel about the relationship between the county and the state when it comes to the Alabama Department of Transportation? Could this gas tax be a way to maybe make it a better relationship, that if we agreed to go up on taxes and ALDOT gets this money to do these things, that the accountability is there and the accessibility and the transparency is there as well?
Well, I think, and I wouldn't want to speak for Mr. Cooper or Governor Ivey, but I believe the administration is as committed as we are on the transparency provisions of the legislation, and I think the public will be very receptive to those things. But one issue that I think people don't consider with regard to the Department of Transportation, because of our limited resources, the ALDOT director tells many, many more people no than he is able to tell yes. The vast majority of local officials that go to ALDOT asking for revenue are told that's a great project. We have limited resources. So over time, you multiply that over and over again, and you have this feeling that, well, ALDOT says no to everyone. I think Mr. Cooper's done a fabulous job during his tenure of saying to local officials, well, we don't have enough money to fund your entire program, but go back and determine what money you can bring to bear and come back and see me. And a lot more projects have been done, in my opinion, in the last 8 years than ever before, but because local counties and cities have found a way to come up with money to partner with ALDOT,
right,
rather than going there and saying to ALDOT, please fund this project for me. I think those days are gone and would be gone no matter who was in charge in making those decisions.
Are you feeling pretty good about politics within that bureaucracy, within that agency, kind of not as big as a factor as perhaps it has historically been over the last 100 years?
Well, I mean, I would say to you with regard to counties, and I've been with the association 30 years, we have the best relationship with ALDOT that we have ever had, and I have no qualms about saying that. We just finished, and there are a few projects left, the A-Trip program that came, that was an initiative of Governor Bentley, where we did $1 billion worth of projects, and that's going to be completed in about 6.5 years, which is almost impossible to do. And that's been done only because of the great cooperative relationship we've had. And I've said to people all over the state, if you think our roads are in bad shape now, just think where we would be if we had not implemented the A-Trip program. Madison County and the city of Huntsville were the two largest recipients of A-Trip funds in the entire state. And there's a lot of the construction ongoing up there now that is a result of the A-Trip program. And we had a fabulous working relationship to get those projects out and completed in a real timely basis.
Sonny Brasfield of the Association of County Commissioners of Alabama. Sonny, tell people where they can find out more about your organization and kind of where we're going and heading in the direction on this gas tax infrastructure debate.
Certainly. We've got a great deal of information on our website, which is easy to remember, alabamacounties.org. They can find us on Twitter and Facebook. You can also follow me if you're really, really bored and want to hear about Alabama counties and turkey hunting and football. You can follow me at Sonny Brasfield on Twitter as well.
All right, Sonny Brasfield on the Jeff Poor Show here on WVNN.